Welcome back to part 2 of my context menu tutorial series. Today we'll be going over some examples of how you can use the context menu features. These will be not covering logics. Logics is in part 3. I'm saying that every video just so you know that it's coming. We need to be added to Neos before we can get that going. It's also to kind of discourage a little bit hacky things such as fire on change and fire on true. There are nodes coming, so just go ahead and wait a week or two for them, and then you'll get a nice normal flow, which I'll cover in part 3 when we get there. Alright, so part 2, what are we going to be doing? You may be noticing I'm wearing a fetching hat. This is from an earlier tutorial where I covered how to do snapping for things like hats and bracelets on your avatar. I'll link it in the video description. I'll also link some accreditation to where I got this hat from. I quite like the hat, although it doesn't look exactly the image I was going for. I was going for sort of Bloodborne, and I've ended up with sort of weird farmer, but it's great for this tutorial because I'm going to show you how you can turn on and off this hat using a context menu item. Let's go ahead and get started. So we'll be using stuff that is covered in part 1 here, so make sure you've watched part 1. I will be linking to that in the video description. You may also see the hat brim in the video. I apologize for that. Maybe I'll just take it off until we're ready to show it turning on and off. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my developer tooltip. Again, you'll only need a developer tooltip here. We'll go ahead and inspect my hand. We'll head up to the root of the avatar here, and then we'll go ahead and select. I need to drop my logics tool off because it's got a context menu item on it as well. One thing to note here is that if you keep having context menu items on various things, it can soon get out of control there. So I didn't expect me to have a context menu item, but I added one to the tool in part 1, so there we go. Anyway, underneath my root of the avatar here, I'm going to hit star, which will create a sub item. I'm going to go ahead and name this context menu. Please go ahead and name your slots. You'll thank me later when you're looking through a context menu and you have no idea what anything means, because I've done that multiple times when playing around with context menus. I wanted to call it context menu. Having difficulty with my left controller, do just ignore it as part of the video. I played around with it for hours today, and I just wanted to get some videos out there. So I'm going to hit star under that because we'll need some other items. So let's go ahead and set up our root menu. And I want to set up a root menu which talks about avatar settings. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'll go to attach component, Radiant UI, context menu, root context menu item, attach component, Radiant UI, context menu item source. We'll drag a context menu item source into item, and we're going to rename this to just call it avatar settings. I'm going to make it, I don't know, that color, sort of blue. Yeah, there we go. Blue, mauve, colorblind, yay. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to attach component, Radiant UI, context menu sub menu. Go ahead, drag context menu into the item's root here, and then leave everything else here as default. We're going to go down to context menu child, and then we're going to rename this to hat toggle. So hat toggle. Really? Come on. Capital T. Hat toggle. There we go. And then under here, I'm going to go to attach component, Radiant UI, context menu item source. Notice there's a pattern going on here, and I'm going to change this to be hat. Now I don't have an image of a hat, but if you had an image of a hat, you could add a sprite provider and drop in a sprite here, exactly as I showed you in part 1. I will change it to sort of, I don't know, brownie color, which will signify it is my hat. There we go. So now if I open up my context menu, I've got avatar settings and then hat. It looks a bit strange, but imagine you've got multiple accessories that you want to turn on and off. You can use multiple items there, and it won't just be a giant slice with just one item in it. So that has all been standard as in part 1. We're going to now change up some stuff and make it look different. So the first thing we're going to do is make it toggle on and off the hat, and then we'll tidy up with some sort of visual aspects of sort of indicating without looking at your avatar if your hat is on or off or not. Let's go ahead and start with the turning the hat on and off. To do that, we're going to be using some common UI components. Common UI components are, to be quite frankly, fantastic. I love all of them. I do have videos on each of the common UI components, and I do want you to look at them and use them and try and use them. Once you start using them, they get quite addictive. So we're going to be using the button value set today. The reason why these work, by the way, is that internally context menu items act sort of like a button. So these button these button components work with that. I'll link all the videos in the video description for the common UI interactions, but I'll be going over the button value set today. So let's go ahead and do that. So if you go to attach component, common UI, button interactions. I lied, we don't need set. If it's more than one value, you'll need set, but if it's just a boolean, you can go ahead and use button toggle. Same thing, I'll go over both though. We'll be doing button value set when we go to the ball. So button toggle. Button toggle will just toggle the value on and off when the button is pushed. In this case, the button is the context menu item source. So what we're going to go do here is find out where that hat is. So I've got to put it on for a bit. Apologize for the view. Come on, get on. There we go. Let's go ahead and inspect this hat. We're going to go, here's my hat. I'm going to go up the hierarchy a little bit till I find the root of the hat. I can't really show you how to do this on your avatar. Just keep ascending the hierarchy and turning things on and off until you get it. If I hop into third person for a moment, I can go ahead and see if I've got it. So I've got hat parent here. If I turn this on or off, you'll see I've got no hat on anymore. So that's on and off here on the active checkbox. So on, off, and on and off. There we go. That's how I'm going to turn off my hat. So now that I found the hat here, it's got an active property. I'm going to go ahead and drag the active property into the target value of the button toggle. And we're actually done. Let me go ahead and up to the mirror. This should be a little bit easier to show in the mirror here. So I'm going to open up my context menu. And you'll see avatar settings. Go into avatar settings, hit hat, and my hat appears. Hit hat again, and it disappears. No logics. It's just magical. It's just working with the button toggle here. Let's now cover how to make things look a bit different. For example, here you might want to indicate what state the hat is on without looking at your avatar in a mirror. There is an amazing component here called ValueOptionDescriptionDriver. It is a long name, and I know that might be confusing. I do have a dedicated video in the video description, but it is perfect for this source as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at ValueOptionDescriptionDriver. Let's go to Attach Component, Common UI, Utility. Oh no, it's not in utility, it's in drivers. ValueOptionDescriptionDriver T. Here you just need to type in the type of data that you're working with. In this case, we're using a bool, so we'll just type in bool. ValueOptionDescriptionDriver bool, add it, and then it's a lot to take in, I know, but it's totally fine. We're going to go ahead and go through each part of it. First of all, go ahead and grab label and put it into label. Put color into color. For sprite, you could also do sprite, but we're going to be leaving sprite alone just to sort of take a look at things a little bit more smoother. For value here, we need to drag in the active value for the hat. And then we're going to start seeing the magic here. So ValueOptionDescriptionDriver will alter the label, color, sprite tint, etc. of a particular item, in this case the context menu item source, based on the value that is displayed in the actual value field here. So you'll see right now that the hat is off. And so what's actually going to be happening here is the default option is going to be being displayed. Now I haven't entered anything into the default options, so you'll see that we've got blank color, blank text, etc. But if I go start providing this, you'll see what's going on here. So I'm going to type in the word hat on. And in hat on, I'm going to change the color to green here. Actually green and then full transparency. And now you'll see that the context menu item source has changed to hat on and green. If I look at my context menu here, you'll see avatar settings, and now hat on, it's green and it says hat on. If I go ahead and add an option to ValueOptionDescriptionDriver with add, and I change this reference value here to on, I can go ahead and grab hat on, change this to hat off, change the color here to red, full transparency, and now I've got a toggleable hat which has a changing menu. So avatar settings, hat on, hat turns on, and then this turns red and says hat off, hat on, hat off, on, off. There you go. With that all combined, again, I've done no logics. I love these components, they're great. Let's go ahead and turn the hat off again, because now I can do that. It's kind of in the way. And that's the first example of doing something with the context menus. Let's now recreate this ball. I'll be putting chapters in the video description if you're interested in sort of jumping around. Everything that we're doing here is pretty much the same, but we'll be using button value set. We won't be using ValueOptionDescriptionDriver as we have a dedicated context menu item for each of the states, red, blue, and green. Let's go ahead and get this done. So to get this ball, we're actually going to be making a material for it. That's what I was doing in that example object. So we go with our developer tooltip to create new, materials, unlit, unlit, and we get a nice white ball here. Now I wouldn't usually use this, but for demonstration purposes it's great. You might want to use an actual sphere. At its heart, this material board is an actual sphere. It's just got a lot of extra components on it that might not make it that ideal. Good thing about this though is if you do use this as material, for example, we could material the floor later. If I set the material orb here by grabbing it and change it, it'll also change that floor. So I'll show you how that works. So we're going to go ahead and close this material inspector. We don't actually need it. And we'll go ahead and inspect this ball. Open inspector on it. Now, materials have a lot of components on them. They also have a lot of properties. This is not a material tutorial. What I will say though is if I just change this tint color, you'll see that the ball changes color. That's all we're after, just some sort of indication that something has changed. There's a lot of other components on here. We don't even need to worry about it. Just leave it exactly the same. Go up to the top here on unlit, hit star. We get a child. We'll go into here and then name it context menu again. And then we'll hit star. And then we've got our context menu starting. So on the context menu here, attach component, Radiant UI, context menu, root context menu item, attach component, Radiant UI, context menu item source. Going a little bit faster here. Hope that's okay. Do feel free to slow me down on YouTube if it's not. Here, my item, we're going to rename this colors. Oops, if I add the extra O that's required. Whoops, I tabbed into another field there. Colors, there we go. And now if I hold this, and open up my context menu, we'll see we've got that color option. We've still got, by the way, because it's parented to my avatar, we've still got the opportunity to turn on my hat or not. That's great. Maybe I'll keep my hat on my avatar, who knows. So now when I'm holding that, I'll have that colors option, and when I'm not holding it, I won't. So then we'll add the submenu. So attach component, Radiant UI, context menu, context menu submenu, drag context menu into that. On context menu child, we're just going to go ahead and rename this to red. And we'll attach a component, Radiant UI, context menu, and then context menu item source. Here we'll change it to the color that we're changing, which is red. I'm actually going to do a trick here in a moment. We'll show you how to kind of build a little bit more modular UI, which is we're going to go ahead and attach another component called transform drivers value copy. Link to a video value copy is in my video description. If we go to value copy here, go to value copy string. Value copy just copies a value from one location to the other. In this case, I'm going to copy the name of the slot. So as the source here, drop source name, and I'm going to use label as the target here. And now whatever I name this slot will also be the name of the context menu item. That makes it super clear and super important to name those context menu items. It also makes it very easy to see what's going on because you can't make a mistake, right? If the slot is named red, the context menu item will be named red. We do have to do the color a little bit manually though. So I'll change this to red here. Now we just need the property which enables the ball to be set to red, and this is going to be using another common UI one. This is actually button value set. I know I lied before, but we'll go ahead and take a look. So attach component, common UI, button interactions, button value set T, and then here just type in color. That's the American spelling, and click, and there you go. Button value set resembles button toggle, which we just used. It just takes a target value and it will set it to the value of set value. So let's go ahead and set up that target value first. So I'm going to go up to the unlit, grab it, push primary in another area, grab tint color, put it into target value, and then set this to red here. But I'm actually not going to do that again. We're going to go ahead and employ another value copy. So go to attach component, transform drivers, value copy T, value copy color. And then we're going to go ahead and grab color of the context menu item and set it as the source and set value as the target. And now that's changed to red. So that now actually works. If I go ahead and grab this ball, I can open up the context menu, go to colors and then red, and you'll see that the ball has turned indeed red. But that's no fun. Let's make some more colors. So we're going to go ahead and hit star to duplicate. Well, star's already the square, and then we'll change this to blue. And notice when I change it to blue that the context menu item source changes to blue. And now if I change the color to blue, the button value set property also changes to blue. Hit star again, not star, square. Change this to green. See again, context menu item source has changed. Change the color here to green. Hit OK. And then we're back to exactly what we've got over there. So I can grab this ball, open up the context menu and go to colors, blue, green, red, blue, green. Additionally, just the way that these context menus will work, I can go into Essential Tools here, pull out a material tooltip, equip that, drop this material in, shoot, that was not a good idea, I'll undo that one. Let's go ahead and make a cube to play around with. Create new 3D model box. Here we go, got a box. I'll go ahead and shoot this material onto the box, and then with the material tooltip still equipped, I can go and open colors, green, blue, red. which I think is a novel sort of way of doing things. Maybe there's materials in the world you can play around with. Maybe there's brushes in the world you can play around with, and you can change various brush properties using the exact same setup. Of course, this all works without the material tooltip as well. Colors, red, oh dear, green, blue, red. Additionally, it'll also work if you've got it on your toolbar. So here I've just placed it on my toolbar. Colors, green, blue, red. So you go, that's all there is to it, basically. I did want to do one more example, and I'll do that very quickly, but I want to do a piece of text. The reason why is I wanted to show you how to do more complex stuff. Like colors is cool, but what about, sort of more distinct values? Let's go ahead and do that real quick. So with the developer tooltip equipped, create new text basic. Inspect the text. Star to create a child. Rename it to context menu. Attach component, Radiant UI, context menu, root context menu item, attach component, Radiant UI, context menu item source, drag that in. We'll change this my item to just text, and then we'll attach component, Radiant UI, context menu submenu, drag in context menu, under context menu hit star to create a new child. Here, I realized I spelled context menu wrong. Don't yell about me in the comments, it's fine. As long as you know the difference between all the slots, go ahead and do it. Attach component, Radiant UI, context menu item source. We'll go ahead and set up that value copy again here. If you're free to, if you know what's going on here, feel free to leave off here, but I do want to give, extra information to those who would benefit from it. So value copy, I always lose string for some reason, there it is. We'll value copy name into the label. Also going to duplicate that. See why in just a moment. I'm going to go to attach component, common UI, button interactions, button value set t, type in string here. And then for the target of the second value copy, set value, and then rename this to whatever we'd like. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this one to cheese. Too many E's. We'll go ahead, grab that basic text, drop text into the target value, and then we're done. It will actually work, but I'm going to go ahead and hit square, and we'll do potato. So now that I renamed the slot here again, context menu item source updated to potato, and as did button value set. So we'll close out our inspectors, and now we've got a piece of text. Grab the piece of text, open up the context menu. It's getting quite busy now, but we're going to change text, and then we'll say cheese, and now the text says cheese, potato, and now it says potato. So there you go, that is the context menu items. There is a lot more that you can do. I do want to open it briefly and just show you what's available. So I'll just create a quick empty object, go to attach component, common UI, button interactions. There's all sorts of stuff here. I do have videos on some of them. If you want videos on anything else, do let me know. But we've got action trigger, which can play random sounds. We've got enum shift, which can go through enums. Enums are things like the body node slots, etc. We've got playback action, which is like things like playing sounds or playing videos. We've got some relays. They're a bit more complicated, so I'll skip those. We've got button reference set and button reference cycle. I didn't go over cycle. Cycle will loop through a set of values. You can think of it like a sort of drop-down list you might see on a web form. Button reference set and button reference cycle will set references. References are things like users, materials, textures, etc. Button string append will append something to a string. Button string erase will erase a string. Button toggle we used, it will set a Boolean value to on or off. Button value cycle, again, loop around like a sort of tape going around in a tape machine. Button value set will set a value. Button value shift will change a value based on a certain number. So you can sort of see that as a numeric value usually. And it will shift it either up or down here. So you can say, hey, shift this value up 5. And then every time you push that context menu item, it will change the value up 5. Maybe it's the length of your snout. I see that a lot in Neos. Or maybe, it's your volume or size or anything like that. You can totally do that with button value delta. Like I said, there are links in the video description to all of my videos about the button value whatever components. They're really, really good. Trust me. try using them, and in some cases I just don't need logics anymore. Those battle value components also work with UIX buttons. That'll be the last bit of advice I give you. I'll leave you off with me turning my hat back on. So come on, avatar settings, hat. There we go. See you later.